The morning sun glinted off the massive steel beams that reached toward the sky. Tom Reed stood at the base of humanity's most ambitious project yet, the first space elevator. At 45 years old, with graying hair at his temples and eyes that had seen too many sleepless nights, he straightened his simple blue work jacket and waited for the alien delegation to arrive. High above, the construction drones buzzed like busy bees, weaving carbon nanofibers into the framework that would eventually stretch up into orbit. To most observers, the progress seemed slow and primitive. That was exactly how Earth wanted it to appear. The air rippled as the royal shuttle descended. Its purple hull gleamed with a metallic shine that no Earth material could match, or so the aliens thought. Tom took a deep breath, reminding himself of the plan. Look simple, look humble, look weak. Prince Thax emerged from the shuttle like a peacock strutting onto a stage. His scaled skin shifted colors in the sunlight, a biological display of his supposed superiority. 4 armed guards flanked him, their armor making them look more like walking tanks than soldiers. "Welcome to Earth's space elevator project, Your Highness," Tom said, bowing just low enough to be respectful, but not so low as to seem servile. "We're honored by your visit." The alien prince's triple-lidded eyes blinked in sequence. "At least you understand proper greeting protocols," he said, his translator making his words sound artificially smooth. "Though I must admit, I expected something more impressive." Tom gestured toward the framework. "Would you like to see our current progress? We're implementing several new technologies that—" "New?" Prince Thax laughed, the sound like glass breaking. "Your species only achieved spaceflight a century ago. The hegemony was building space elevators when your ancestors were still fighting with pointed sticks." The guards chuckled on cue, their armored shoulders clanking. Tom kept his face neutral as he led them through the construction site. He pointed out the carbon fiber weaving stations, the gravity compensators, deliberately outdated models, and the atmospheric shielding systems. Prince Thax's dismissal grew with each explanation. "Fascinating," he said, in a tone that suggested it was anything but. "You're using physical construction drones. The hegemony abandoned those millennia ago in favor of quantum assemblers." "We're working with the technology we have, Your Highness," Tom replied, carefully hiding any hint of the quantum assemblers humming away in secret facilities beneath the Antarctic ice. The prince stopped at a holographic display showing the project's timeline. 5 years. You expect this primitive attempt to take 5 years. His scales rippled with colors that Tom's implanted translator indicated meant amusement and contempt. "We believe in being realistic about our capabilities," Tom said. "Realistic?" Prince Thax turned to face him fully. "Let me be realistic with you, human. This project is an embarrassment. Your species clearly isn't ready for full membership in the galactic hegemony. Perhaps we were too hasty in even granting you provisional status." Tom felt his jaw tighten, but kept his voice level. "We're still learning, Your Highness. Any guidance would be appreciated." The prince's scales flashed bright orange, superiority and disdain. "Guidance? Here's guidance. Abandon this project. Wait another century or two. When you're ready to build something that doesn't look like a child's toy, then perhaps contact us again." The guards laughed again, louder this time. Tom looked up at the framework stretching into the sky. In his ear, a tiny quantum communicator chirped once, the signal that everything was being recorded and transmitted to Earth's hidden command center. "Perfect. We'll take your suggestion under advisement, Your Highness," he said quietly. As the prince and his guards returned to their shuttle, Tom allowed himself a small smile. Let them laugh. Let them mock. They had no idea what humanity was truly capable of, and soon enough, they would learn the cost of their arrogance. The prince's shuttle rose into the sky, disappearing into the clouds with a flash of purple light. Tom touched his communicator. "Phase 1 complete," he said. They took the bait. "Begin Phase 2. High above, the primitive construction drones continued their work, hiding the truth in plain sight. The real show was about to begin. Deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, in a chamber that officially didn't exist, Tom Reed stood before the Earth Defense Council. The massive screens behind him showed the recording of Prince Thax's visit from a dozen different angles. The aliens' mocking laughter echoed through the room one final time before Tom switched off the display. "The prince reacted exactly as we predicted," Tom said, his voice steady. "He sees us as primitives playing with technology beyond our understanding." General Adams, a tough old soldier with a scared face, leaned forward. "And what makes you so sure this act will work, Reed? You spent 20 years in special forces before becoming an engineer. You know how dangerous overconfident enemies can be." Tom touched a control panel, and a hologram appeared in the center of the room. It showed the real space elevator project, not the decoy being built above ground. The quantum assemblers were already halfway done, hidden by technology that made them invisible to even the most advanced alien scanners. Because, General, aliens like Prince Thax suffer from one major weakness. Tom smiled. They believe they already know everything worth knowing. Dr. Wells, the head of Earth's science division, nodded in agreement. Her white hair was tied back in a simple bun. "Our research shows that the hegemony hasn't made any major technological advances in over 10,000 years. They've become stuck in their ways." Meanwhile, Tom continued, bringing up another display. "Humanity has been making breakthroughs they can't even imagine." "Show them, Doctor." Dr. Wells pressed a button on her tablet. The air in the center of the room shimmered, and gravity reversed itself in a perfect sphere. Papers and pens floated upward, but only within the defined space. "Controlled gravitational fields," she explained. "Something the hegemony thinks is impossible. They gave up trying centuries ago." Tom walked around the gravity sphere. "We've hidden our real advances behind a wall of fake failures. Every time they scan us, they see exactly what they expect to see: a young species struggling with basic technology." "And the prince's mockery?" asked the council member. "Is our best protection," Tom replied. "His reports will reinforce everything the hegemony believes about us. Their arrogance blinds them to the truth." The council chamber fell silent as everyone considered the stakes. Earth had been playing this game since first contact 50 years ago. Every primitive device they showed the aliens contained hidden technologies far beyond what the hegemony thought possible. "What about the construction team above ground?" General Adams asked. "They're putting their lives at risk every day maintaining this deception." Tom's face grew serious. "Every worker up there knows the stakes. We're building 2 space elevators, the fake one for the aliens to see, and the real one that will change everything. The surface team are some of our best actors, playing the role of simple construction workers." Dr. Wells brought up new data on the screens. "Our quantum computers have already solved problems the hegemony thinks are impossible. Their entire defense system is based on technology we surpassed a decade ago." "But we have to be patient," Tom warned. "One wrong move, one slip that shows our real capabilities too soon, and we lose everything. The prince's arrogance is our shield." The council members looked at each other, decades of careful planning hanging in the balance. Earth had transformed itself into a master of deception, hiding its true power behind a mask of weakness. "Very well," General Adams said finally. "Continue the operation." "But Tom," he fixed the engineer with a stern look, "don't let that alien's mockery get under your skin. We need your head clear." Tom thought back to the prince's laughing face, the dismissive way he had treated humanity's supposed best efforts. "Don't worry, General," he said quietly. "Everything is going exactly according to plan." As he left the chamber, Tom couldn't help but smile. Let the prince laugh. Soon enough, that laughter would turn to shock, and then to fear, as he realized just how badly he had underestimated humanity. The news spread across Earth like wildfire. Prince Thax's hologram appeared on every screen, his scaled face gleaming with smug confidence as he made his announcement to the human race. "In light of humanity's clearly limited capabilities, the prince said, his translator making his mocking tone even clearer. I propose a simple challenge. Complete your space elevator in 1 year, or Earth will return to protected status under hegemony rule. Tom Reed watched the broadcast from the control room of the surface construction site. Around him, workers played their parts perfectly, showing shock and fear at the impossible deadline. But their eyes held secret smiles. He can't do this, protested the human ambassador before the Hegemony Council. The vast chamber, with its towering crystal walls, made the human look tiny among the alien representatives. This violates our treaty rights. Prince Thax's scales rippled with amusement. The treaty gives Earth provisional independence based on technological advancement. I'm simply proposing a test of that advancement. The council leader, an ancient being with crystalline skin, raised a hand for silence. The challenge is within our laws. Earth must either meet the deadline or accept the consequences. Back on Earth, Tom sat in an emergency meeting with the Defense Council. The underground chamber hummed with energy as plans were set in motion. This is our chance, Tom said, bringing up detailed holographic plans. The prince has given us exactly what we wanted, an excuse to work faster without raising suspicion. Dr. Wells nodded. Our quantum assemblers can complete the real elevator in 3 months. We just need to make the visible construction look like we're barely making the deadline. There's more, General Adams said grimly. Our spies in the hegemony have discovered the prince's true plan. He pressed a button, showing intercepted alien communications. He never expects us to succeed. He's planning to use this challenge to take direct control of Earth. Tom's eyes narrowed. Then he's in for a surprise. He turned to the council. Request permission to activate Phase 3. The council members looked at each other. Phase 3 was dangerous. It would reveal some of their advanced technology, though not their greatest secrets. After a moment, they nodded. Over the next few weeks, the surface construction site transformed. New machines appeared, ones that looked impressive to alien observers, but were actually far less advanced than humanity's real technology. Workers put on a show of frantic activity, making progress that seemed amazing by the hegemony's expectations, but was laughably slow compared to what humans could really do. Prince Thax made regular inspection visits, each time barely hiding his glee at what he saw as desperate human efforts. Impressive progress, he said during one visit, his scales flashing colors that his translator didn't bother to interpret. Though I doubt it will be enough. We're doing our best, Your Highness, Tom replied humbly, while beneath the ground, the real space elevator was nearly complete. But the prince had one more surprise. As his shuttle lifted off after the inspection, it released tiny, nearly invisible devices that floated down toward the construction site. Sabotage drones detected, whispered Tom's hidden earpiece. Exactly as predicted. Tom touched his communicator. Let them through. Time to put on a show. The alien drones, thinking they were undetected, began their work. They targeted support structures, weakened key points, and planted devices to cause failures at the worst possible moment. And all the while, human quantum sensors recorded everything. That night, in the secret facility, Tom looked at the evidence they had gathered. The prince has played right into our hands, he said to Dr. Wells. He's not just challenging us now. He's violated at least 15 hegemony laws. And when his sabotage fails, she asked. Tom smiled. That's when we show him why you should never underestimate humans. Start the final countdown. It's time for humanity to stop playing weak. In the dark of night, Tom Reed stood at the base of the fake space elevator, watching the prince's sabotage drones do their work. Through his enhanced vision implants, the tiny machines glowed like fireflies against the steel structure. Behind him, Dr. Wells monitored their activities on a tablet disguised to look like primitive technology. They're targeting the main support cables, she whispered, just as our predictions showed. Tom nodded. The prince thinks he's clever. He wants the elevator to fail dramatically, right when the whole galaxy is watching. Their conversation was interrupted by an urgent message from the underground control center. General Adams's face appeared on Tom's hidden display. "We have a problem. The prince's spies are getting suspicious. One of them noticed our power usage doesn't match what it should be for the visible construction." "Time to show them our first card," Tom said. He pressed a hidden button on his work jacket. Suddenly, massive floodlights illuminated the construction site. Hundreds of workers poured out of the buildings, operating machinery that hummed and sparked impressively. To any observer, it looked like humans were working around the clock, desperately trying to meet the deadline. "Let the spies see this," Tom said. "They'll think we're just pushing our primitive technology to its limits." High above, an alien surveillance ship hung in orbit, cloaked from what they thought was primitive human detection technology. The prince himself stood on its bridge, watching the construction site through advanced sensors. "Look at them scramble," he said to his commanders, "like insects trying to build a mountain." His scales flickered with dark amusement. They have no idea what's coming. But he was wrong. Deep beneath the Antarctic ice, in humanity's most advanced facility, the real work was happening. Dr. Wells led Tom through rows of quantum computers that made the hegemony's best technology look like children's toys. "The prince's sabotage gave us an unexpected advantage," she said, bringing up detailed holograms. "Every drone he sends tells us more about hegemony technology. We've learned more in the past week than in 10 years of careful observation." Tom studied the data. They really haven't advanced in thousands of years. They just kept building the same things, over and over, never questioning if there might be better ways. A young engineer rushed up to them, her face excited. "Sir, we've finished analyzing the prince's personal shield technology. It's exactly what we thought. They're still using standard energy matrices. They never even considered quantum-linked defense fields." "Perfect," Tom smiled. "What's the status of our real elevator?" The engineer pulled up a new display, hidden by technology that bent light and sensor readings around it. The true space elevator rose into the sky. It was nearly complete, built with materials and methods the hegemony couldn't even understand, let alone detect. "We'll be ready 3 months ahead of schedule," she reported, "even with the time we're taking to study their sabotage attempts." Suddenly, alarms flashed. The prince's ship was moving, descending through the atmosphere for another surprise inspection. Tom quickly headed for the surface, ready to play his role as the humble project leader once again. Minutes later, he watched the prince's shuttle land. The alien royal stepped out, his guards scanning the area with devices they thought were undetectable. Working through the night, Prince Thax asked, his voice dripping with false concern, "Don't push your primitive equipment too hard. It would be unfortunate if something were to fail." Tom bowed his head to hide his smile. "We appreciate your concern, Your Highness. We're doing everything we can to meet your challenge." The prince walked away, his scales showing clear satisfaction. He thought he was watching a desperate race against time, a primitive species pushing themselves to failure. Instead, he was watching the most elaborate deception in human history. And soon, very soon, he would learn just how badly he had misjudged humanity's strength. The day of reckoning arrived sooner than even humanity expected. 3 months before the challenge deadline, Prince Thax made his move. Tom Reed stood in the underground command center, watching as a fleet of hegemony warships dropped out of hyperspace above Earth. Their purple hulls gleamed in the sunlight, weapons already charging. "Right on schedule," General Adams said grimly. The prince isn't even trying to hide his intentions anymore. The prince's face appeared on every screen on Earth, his scales glowing with triumph. "People of Earth, your pathetic attempts to meet my challenge have failed. I am hereby taking direct control of your planet. Surrender now, and you may keep limited autonomy." In the fake construction site, workers ran in apparent panic as smaller alien ships descended, their weapons aimed at the elevator structure. The prince had chosen his moment perfectly, or so he thought. "Should we show him the truth now?" Dr. Wells asked, her fingers hovering over the control panel that would reveal humanity's real power. Tom shook his head. Not yet. Let him commit fully to his betrayal. We need the whole galaxy to see this. The prince's personal battleship moved into position above the space elevator. Your primitive construction ends now, his voice boomed. Accept your place as our subjects, or face the consequences. In response, Tom finally pressed the button they had been waiting to use for 50 years. At first, nothing seemed to happen. The alien ships hung in the air, weapons ready. Prince Thax's scales flickered with confusion as his sensors showed no resistance, no defensive measures. Then the air itself came alive. A ripple spread across the sky, like a stone dropped in a pond. Every alien sensor and scanning device simply stopped working. Their advanced targeting systems went dark. Their shields flickered and died. "What is this?" the prince demanded, real fear in his voice for the first time. "What primitive trick is this?" "Not primitive at all, Your Highness," Tom replied, his voice now transmitted clearly to every ship in the alien fleet. "Just something you never thought to look for." The fake space elevator shimmered and vanished, revealing the true structure behind it. Where the prince's sabotage drones had thought they were causing damage, they had merely been studying empty air. "Impossible," Prince Thax shouted. "Your species can't have this technology. Our sensors would have detected it." "Would they?" Tom asked calmly. "Or did you just assume they would, because you never imagined we could advance beyond your understanding?" The prince's ship tried to fire its weapons. Nothing happened. The quantum field humanity had developed didn't just block their technology, it rendered it useless. "Your Highness," Tom continued, "you're currently experiencing what we call a localized quantum disruption field. Your weapons, your shields, your very engines only work because you understand how to use them, not because you understand how they truly function. We do." From the ground, new structures appeared. Hidden defense platforms that had been invisible to alien sensors rose up, surrounding the fleet. They didn't fire. They didn't need to. The demonstration of power was clear enough. In orbit, the real space elevator extended into space, its quantum-engineered materials gleaming with an impossible perfection that made the prince's technology look primitive by comparison. "This is your only warning," Tom said. "Return to your territory. Tell the hegemony what you've seen here. And remember, you chose this moment. You chose to attack a species you thought was weak, to break laws you thought you could ignore." The prince's scales had turned pale, almost white with fear. His mighty fleet hung helpless in Earth's sky, surrounded by technology he couldn't understand. "One more thing," Tom added. "We recorded everything. Your sabotage attempts, your violation of hegemony law, your unprovoked attack. The Galactic Council will be very interested in seeing this evidence." Prince Thax's face vanished from the screens. His fleet, released from the quantum field, flowed into hyperspace. Earth had revealed its first card, and the game was just beginning. The Galactic Council chamber was nothing like Tom Reed had imagined. Instead of the cold, crystal architecture humans had always been shown, the real chamber was a vast sphere of living metal that shifted and moved like liquid mercury. The deception, it seemed, had gone both ways. Tom stood before the full council, with representatives from 1,000 worlds watching. Prince Thax knelt in chains nearby, his scales now a dull gray of defeat. Above them all, a hologram played the complete recording of the prince's failed attack on Earth. "This evidence is disturbing," the council leader said, their crystalline form pulsing with deep blues of concern. "Prince Thax, you violated 17 major laws of the hegemony. But more importantly, you proved that our entire civilization has grown dangerously complacent." The prince tried to speak, but the council leader raised a hand for silence. Representative Reed. They continued, "Your world has shown us something we had forgotten. The joy of discovery, the power of looking beyond what we think we know." Tom nodded respectfully. "Earth kept its advances secret because we had to. But we're ready to share now, if the hegemony is ready to learn. The chamber erupted in discussion. Some representatives showed clear fear of Earth's capabilities. Others displayed eager interest in what humans might teach them. The council leader waited for quiet before speaking again. "We have grown stagnant," they admitted. "For 10,000 years, we believed we had reached the peak of possible advancement. We stopped looking for new ways, new ideas." They turned to Tom. "How many other discoveries has Earth made?" Tom smiled. "The quantum disruption field was just the beginning. We found ways to manipulate gravity itself, to bend space without massive energy use, to compute using quantum states the hegemony never discovered." "Lies," Prince Thax suddenly shouted. "They're primitive. They must have stolen this technology. We can't let them." "Enough." The council leader's voice boomed. "Your own actions revealed the truth, Prince. While you mocked their apparent primitive state, humans were advancing beyond our understanding. Your arrogance became humanity's shield." Dr. Wells stepped forward, carrying what looked like a simple metal cube. "If the council permits, we'd like to demonstrate one more discovery." The council leader nodded. Dr. Wells placed the cube on the floor and stepped back. The cube rose into the air, and suddenly the entire chamber was filled with a soft, golden light. Every being present felt a wave of peace and clarity wash over them. "This is what we call quantum harmonics," Dr. Wells explained. "It can enhance neural activity, speed healing, and even help different species understand each other without translators. We developed it 2 years ago, but kept it hidden, waiting for the right moment." The council chamber was silent. The golden light faded, but its effect remained. For the first time, in thousands of years, the most powerful beings in the galaxy had experienced something truly new. "We propose a new partnership," Tom said into the silence. "Not one of rulers and subjects, but of equals. Earth will share its discoveries, and in return, we ask for true acceptance into the galactic community." The council leader's crystalline form shimmered with colors of agreement. "The age of the hegemony is over. Together, we will build something new." They turned to Prince Thax. "As for you, your punishment will fit your crimes. You will be the first to study under human teachers, to learn what true advancement means." The prince's scales couldn't possibly get any grayer. As the council session ended, Tom looked out at the assembled representatives of 1,000 worlds. Humanity had done more than just defend itself. It had sparked a revolution in galactic society. And it had all started with letting an arrogant prince underestimate them. 1 year after the confrontation at Earth, Tom Reed walked through the halls of the new Galactic Academy of Science. The building itself was a testament to the changes humanity had brought to the galaxy. Its walls shifted and flowed with quantum energy, combining human innovation with alien aesthetics. Students from 100 different species hurried past him, many nodding respectfully. Among them, looking decidedly less regal than he once had, was Prince Thax. The former royal now wore the simple gray uniform of a first-year student. "Good morning, Professor Reed," the prince said quietly, his scales showing the pale blue of humility, a color Tom had never seen on him before. "How are your studies progressing, Thax?" Tom asked. They had dropped the prince title as part of his punishment. Thax hesitated. "I never knew there was so much left to learn. Yesterday, a human student showed me how to manipulate quantum states with my mind. It was amazing." Tom nodded, hiding his smile. The prince's punishment, to study under humans and learn just how wrong he had been, had turned out to be exactly what he needed. In the main laboratory, Dr. Wells was teaching a class about gravity manipulation. Her students included some of the hegemony's former top scientists, all eagerly learning principles they once thought impossible. "The key," she was saying, "is to stop assuming you know everything. The moment you think you've reached the peak of knowledge is the moment you stop growing." Tom continued to his office, which overlooked the completed space elevator. "The real one," now visible to all, stood as a shining symbol of humanity's capabilities. But it was no longer unique. Similar structures were being built on worlds across the galaxy, using human techniques and technologies. General Adams was waiting in his office, now wearing the formal robes of Earth's representative to the new Galactic Council. "The latest reports are in," the general said, grinning. "The quantum harmonics technology has been successfully adapted for medical use in 90% of known species. Infant mortality rates across the galaxy have dropped by 60%. "And the old guard?" Tom asked, referring to those who had resisted the changes humanity brought. "Most have come around, especially after seeing the benefits. It's hard to argue against progress when it's saving lives." The general paused. "Though there are still some who think like the prince used to, that their way is the only way." "They'll learn," Tom said, looking out his window at the stars. "Just like Thax did." A soft chime announced another visitor. The council leader themselves, their crystalline form now incorporating some of the quantum engineering humans had introduced. "The council session will begin soon," they said. "Are you ready to present the new proposals?" Tom nodded. Under the new system, any species could present new discoveries and innovations to the council. Humanity had insisted on this change, knowing that progress came from sharing knowledge, not hoarding it. "Our latest project," Tom said, bringing up a hologram, "combines human quantum computing with Rigelian crystal technology and Centaurian energy matrices. The potential applications are beyond anything any single species could have developed alone." The council leader's form pulsed with approval. "This is exactly why your species has changed everything. You not only advanced on your own, but showed us how to advance together." As they headed to the council chamber, they passed the Academy's main hall. There, engraved in quantum-shifted metal that showed a different message to each species in their own language, was the new motto of galactic civilization: "Knowledge grows only when shared." Tom paused to read it, remembering how it all started, with an arrogant prince laughing at what he thought was a primitive species. That laughter had been humanity's shield, allowing them to advance in secret until the right moment. Now, humanity's strength was the galaxy's strength. Their knowledge was lifting all species to new heights, and somewhere in the Academy, a former prince was learning the most important lesson of all. True power comes not from mocking others, but from helping them grow. The era of the hegemony was over. The age of discovery had begun.